begins with a whisper, then a warning, and finally, a symbol that has haunted humanity for centuries. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. Book of Revelation 13:18. A number etched into fear, conspiracy, and misunderstanding. From horror films to internet theories, it has been labeled as the devil's personal signature, a mark of pure evil. But what if everything you've heard is only part of the story? What if 666 is not merely a symbol of terror, but a coded message? In the ancient world, numbers were not just quantities, they were identities. Names carried numerical values, empires hid secrets in plain sight, and the early Christians, under brutal persecution, had to speak in riddles to survive. The Apostle John, exiled on the island of Patmos, didn't write Revelation as a horror novel. He wrote it as a message of hope, disguised in symbols to evade the watchful eyes of Rome. And right at the heart of that message lies 666. But here's the twist. The number was never meant to scare you. It was meant to be understood. As the text itself says, here is wisdom, not fear, not panic, wisdom. So why has the modern world turned it into something so sinister? Why do millions misunderstand what John was actually revealing? And more importantly, who or what was 666 really pointing to? Because once you uncover its true meaning, everything changes. And what you discover next may challenge everything you thought you knew. The ancient world didn't have social media, but it had something far more powerful: symbolism. When John wrote Revelation, Christians were under the iron fist of the Roman Empire. Speaking openly against Rome could mean imprisonment or death. So instead, messages were hidden in symbols, numbers, and imagery. This is where 666 begins to take shape. In Hebrew and Greek culture, letters doubled as numbers, a system known as gematria. Names could be translated into numerical values, and sometimes those numbers were used as coded references. So when Revelation 13:18 says, "Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man," it's giving us a clue. Not a monster, not a myth. A man, a real historical figure. Early Christians reading this would have immediately recognized the pattern. They were used to decoding such messages. But modern readers, centuries removed, often miss the cultural context. And here's where things get fascinating. When scholars began applying gematria to the number 666, one name consistently emerged from history: Nero Caesar. The infamous Roman emperor known for cruelty, persecution, and tyranny. When his name is written in Hebrew, Neron Kaiser, its numerical value equals 666. Coincidence? Or exactly what John intended? But the mystery deepens. Some ancient manuscripts of Revelation don't say 666, they say 616. Why the difference? Because when Nero Caesar is spelled slightly differently in Latin form, the number changes, yet still points to the same man. It's not random, it's precise. And suddenly, 666 stops being a supernatural code and becomes a historical fingerprint. But if 666 pointed to Nero, then why does it still matter today? What was John really warning us about? Because Nero may be long gone, but what he represented may still be alive. When most people hear the beast, they imagine something monstrous, horns, claws, and terror rising from the shadows. But the Bible tells a different story. In Revelation 13, the beast is described as rising from the sea, having power, authority, and influence over nations. It is political, it is powerful, it is worshipped, not feared like a monster, but followed like a ruler. This changes everything, because the beast is not just a creature, it is a system. a kingdom, an empire. In the time of John, there was only one empire that fit this description: Rome. Rome ruled the known world. Rome demanded allegiance, and Rome, through its emperors, demanded something even more dangerous: worship. Emperors like Nero didn't just want obedience, they wanted to be seen as divine. And this is where the mark of the beast begins to take shape. It wasn't a barcode, it wasn't a microchip. It was allegiance. To refuse emperor worship could mean exclusion from trade, society, and even life itself. Revelation describes this when it says, "No man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark." Revelation 13:17. This wasn't futuristic technology. It was ancient political control. The mark symbolized loyalty, whether in action, the hand, or thought, the forehead. So 666 was not warning about a distant future horror. It was exposing a present reality, a system demanding total allegiance in place of God. But here's the unsettling question. If the beast represents systems of power that demand ultimate loyalty, could such systems still exist today? And if they do, would we even recognize them? For generations, people have feared the mark of the beast as something physical, something forced upon humanity in a dramatic end-time scenario. But the Bible paints a far more symbolic and deeper picture. In Revelation, the mark is placed on the right hand or the forehead. To modern readers, this may sound literal, but to ancient Jews, this language was instantly familiar. Because centuries earlier, God gave Israel a command: bind them as a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. Deuteronomy 6:8. This was never meant to be literal branding. It was symbolic of devotion, actions, hand, and thoughts, forehead, aligned with God's commandments. Revelation mirrors this imagery. The mark of the beast is a counterfeit. Instead of devotion to God, it represents devotion to worldly power. So the real question is not, will I receive a mark? It is, where does my allegiance lie? This shifts the entire narrative. The mark is not something you accidentally receive. It is something you choose through belief, loyalty, and action. And suddenly, the fear-based interpretations begin to crumble. Because the true warning of Revelation is not about being tricked. It's about being transformed, either toward truth or toward deception. But if the mark is symbolic, why has it been so misunderstood for so long, and who benefits from that misunderstanding? Fear spreads faster than truth, and nowhere is that more evident than in how 666 has been portrayed throughout history. From medieval superstition to modern conspiracy theories, the number has been turned into a symbol of dread. Entire generations have grown up believing it represents an unavoidable, mysterious curse. But Revelation itself says the opposite. Here is wisdom. Revelation 13:18. Wisdom requires understanding, not panic. The early Christians didn't read Revelation and hide in terror. They read it and found courage. They recognized the symbols, they understood the message, and they remained faithful, even under persecution. So how did we lose that clarity? Over time, as cultural context faded, symbolic language was taken literally. What was once understood as metaphor became misunderstood as prediction, and fear filled the gap. But fear distorts. It shifts focus away from the real message and replaces it with speculation. The real message of 666 is not be afraid. It is be discerning. Discern the systems around you, discern where your loyalty lies, discern truth from deception. Because the danger was never the number itself. The danger is what it represents. And what it represents is far more subtle than most people realize. Nero may have died in 68 AD, but his shadow never truly disappeared. In fact, after his death, rumors spread across the Roman Empire that he would return. This belief, known as the Nero Redivivus myth, claimed that Nero would rise again to reclaim power. Sound familiar? Revelation speaks of a beast that was wounded and yet lived. To early Christians, this would have been a chilling connection, not because Nero would literally return, but because what he represented could rise again in new forms: tyranny, persecution, false divinity. The spirit of the beast is not confined to one man or one era. It reappears wherever power demands worship, where authority replaces truth, where systems elevate themselves above God. This is why 666 still matters, not as a relic of the past, but as a pattern that repeats. And if history has shown us anything, it's that humanity often fails to recognize the pattern until it's too late. Revelation is not just about politics, it's about something deeper, a spiritual conflict between truth and deception, between allegiance to God and allegiance to the world. The number 666 symbolizes imperfection, falling short of divine completeness. In biblical numerology, 7 represents perfection, 6 falls just short, and 666? It is imperfection intensified, human systems, human power, human pride, elevated to their highest level, yet still incomplete. This is the true nature of the beast, not a creature, but humanity trying to replace God. And this battle is not fought with weapons, it is fought within the heart. The meaning of 666 is so clear in context, why wasn't it explained outright? Because it couldn't be. John was writing under Roman rule. A direct attack on the emperor would have been fatal, not just for him, but for the entire Christian community. So he wrote in symbols, codes that believers could understand, but authorities could not easily prosecute. It was brilliance under pressure, and it preserved the message for those willing to seek understanding. So where does this leave us? If 666 was originally pointing to Nero and the Roman system, what does it mean now? It means the warning still stands. Any system that demands ultimate loyalty, any power that replaces truth with control, any authority that elevates itself above God, carries the spirit of the beast. The number is not the danger. The pattern is. In the end, 666 is not a symbol of hopelessness. It is a call to awareness, a reminder that evil is not always obvious, that deception often comes disguised as authority, and that true faith requires discernment. The final message of Revelation is not fear, it is victory. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb. Revelation 12:11. The beast does not win. Truth does, but only for those who see beyond the surface. And now that you've seen it, the question is no longer what is 666. The question is, will you recognize it when it appears again? As we come to the end of this journey, sit with this thought for a moment. Maybe 666 was never meant to make you afraid. Maybe it was meant to wake you up. Through centuries of fear, speculation, and confusion, the deeper message of Revelation has quietly remained the same. God calls his people not to panic, but to discern, not to live in terror of hidden symbols, but to stay rooted in truth while the world around them shifts and changes. And that matters now more than ever, because no empire lasts forever, no darkness outruns God, and no deception is greater than his light. So if fear has ever gripped your heart when hearing these prophecies, let today be the moment you remember this. You do not belong to fear. You belong to the God who sees the end from the beginning. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, and of love, and of a sound mind. 2 Epistle to Timothy 1:7. The angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him, and delivereth them. Book of Psalms 34:7. And before you go, let us pray. May God guard your mind from fear and your heart from confusion. May he give you wisdom to recognize truth, peace in uncertain times, and the quiet assurance that his presence has never left you. May his angels watch over your steps, and may you rest tonight knowing that the one who holds history is also holding you. And perhaps that is the greatest mystery of all, not the number of the beast, but the depth of God's mercy in a world still searching for light. Amen. Thanks for watching. If this opened your eyes even a little, don't let it end here. Tap subscribe. Leave a like and share with someone who needs it. I will love to hear your thought. Drop a comment below.